Hi, my name is Laurence Smith. I am a professor of environmental studies and of earth, environmental, and planetary sciences at Brown University. Um, Before that, I was professor and chair of geography at UCLA. And today is April 21st, 2020. And like pretty much everyone in the world, I am stuck at home, locked down due to the coronavirus pandemic. Um, I'm with you today to celebrate the launch of my new book titled Rivers of Power. Here it is. I have a copy. Here we are. Launched today, and I'm very excited about it. And while I had planned to be wearing a coat and tie, delivering a lecture today at Penn State University to launch the book, followed by other lectures at one at York University, and then on to London for some other talks. Instead, we'll do it this way, virtually online. And hope you don't mind. I'm not dressed fancy. You may hear my small kids in the background, but there's no reason not to mark this day after spending, 3 years working on the book and over 25 years of studying these remarkable natural features. And what I thought I'd do is just pass along, some of the fun ideas about the book, read a couple of excerpts, and mark this day. So the purpose of this book and the premise of this book is to contend that rivers possess a grandly underappreciated value and importance to humanity. And we all know that rivers are important. That's obvious. But by taking a very holistic view, this research and synthesis shows just how deeply important rivers are to basically life as we know it, ranging from the physical earth to the way our society has organized and the very cities and political jurisdictions in which we live. Some of our most fundamental institutions like engineering and science and law, the very origins of these institutions can be traced back to rivers. And just starting with the physical form of the earth itself, if you display a satellite-based topographic map of the world, very different perspective than one with political boundaries, of course, we can see how profoundly these landscape features have shaped the very earth upon which we live. And nations have not ignored this. In fact, through some geospatial analysis that I present in the book, I show for the first time in a quantitative way just how important rivers and their topographic divides that they carve on the earth are to the shapes and sizes of nations and to the locations of our population centers. For virtually all of our major cities have a large river running through their cores, and this is not by accident. These have been preferred places for humans to settle since the earliest origins of our civilization. And their importance to us now in the digital age and the space age is actually keener than ever before. So, did you know, for example, that most of the Earth's land surface looks the way it does because of the actions of rivers? Did you know that just last year in 2019, a major breakthrough archaeological discovery revealed that the first human beings in North America actually penetrated the continent by traveling by boat, either by boat or along the shore along the western coast of Canada to skirt around an ice sheet and then turned east up the Columbia River, following the Columbia River into the interior And in fact, the river valleys were the main corridors for travel by early native peoples in the in the Americas. Here and today, we live where we do because of rivers. Some 2/3 of the world's population lives along big ones, and virtually all of our great cities are located where they are because of rivers. Did you know that every now and then a really huge river flood will come along that can jolt the course of history in some very surprising ways, ranging from very plausibly the triggering of the so-called lost Shah dynasty of China due to some crazy and very devastating flooding along the Yellow River Valley, to some surprises like the origins of America's litigious, lawsuit-happy culture today, tracing back to the deadliest river flood in U.S. history in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, well over 100 years ago. Did you know that the solid African-American vote for the Republican Party, the first cracks in that loyal support actually began with a major 1927 flood on the Mississippi River, years before FDR and the Kennedy administration and policies by Lyndon Johnson, vastly then accelerated that trend. Did you know that climate change is causing the growth of huge blue meltwater rivers on top of the Greenland ice sheet? These striking features I've actually been studying with myself and my students and postdoctoral scholars and colleagues for some years. And this trend is expected to continue, pushing up sea level rise. Did you know that rivers are a topic of some very exciting new technological developments that will aid a positive response to our need to move more towards renewable energy resources? The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, for example, is considering an audacious plan to turn Lake Mead, which is the reservoir that impounds the Colorado River by Hoover Dam, into a $3 billion energy storage facility to store renewable solar and wind energy generated out on the desert. The dam would basically be turned into a battery. And did you know that a host of new, very exciting new sensors and satellites and computer models will revolutionize how we track and steward the world's freshwater resources, including a $1 billion new satellite technology that will monitor the water levels in lakes and reservoirs and rivers all over the world for the first time ever. And that satellite will launch in the year 2022 and will really change our knowledge of the world's water resources, which is not the case right now. And finally, did you know that the convergence of urban growth and clean water laws and the flight of heavy industry from river corridors has created an extraordinary golden age of urban riverfront redevelopment around the world? There are some outstanding examples of this through large, modern, sort of mixed-use residential and public green space projects. Oh, in New York City, there are a bunch of these, including Hudson Yards, Greenpoint Landing, the conversion of a former sugar factory, Domino Sugar Project in Brooklyn, and other huge projects in London, Shanghai, Hamburg, Cairo, even the long maligned Los Angeles River in LA, Southern California. And these urban river renewals will offer many new beneficial opportunities for people to get outside and reconnect a little bit with a, obviously a highly curated form of nature, but a way for people to get outside which brings a host of personal well-being and health and cognition benefits. And it's proving to be very important at this moment during the coronavirus epidemic is riverfront parks that, where it's allowed, are being heavily used by people spaced out, of course, 6 feet or more, but heavily used to get out of the house and clear their minds a little bit. So those are just some of the ideas that talk about. I thought I'd just read an excerpt or two and then sign off. A world without rivers would be unrecognizable to us. Our continents would be rugged, high, cold, and small. Our settlement pattern would have evolved in very different ways, with scattered farms and villages clinging to oases and coastlines. Wars would have proceeded differently, and the borders of nations would be unfamiliar. Our most famous cities would not exist. The global movements of people and trade that so define us today might never have happened. Throughout history, rivers have gripped us through their provisions of natural capital, access, territory, well-being, and power. That's sort of a 5-point framework that I present that has been durable and constant throughout time, even as the details of it have changed. The flat, fertile valleys they created sustained us with food and water. From the silty valleys of present-day Egypt, Iraq, India, Pakistan, and China, the first hydraulic societies invented the city, trade, the ruling class, and the origins of the political state. The pragmatic desire of early urban planners to tap water and flush sewage fashioned the world's first engineers. Philosophical debates over the sources and ownership of rivers established early foundations of science and law. In the Americas, prehistoric colonizers spread out along river valleys and built other hydraulic societies like the Anasazi of New Mexico, the Maya of Central America, and the Cahokians of the Mississippi River Valley. Many Americans will be surprised to learn that there was a vast and well-organized society that grew in the Mississippi River Valley and doesn't get discussed very much. They had political organization and leaders and long trade routes, and they even built pyramids of earth and logs. And because they have decomposed, they haven't held up the way the Egyptian pyramids have. But it was really a quite remarkable society called the Cahokians. When colonial Europeans set out to chart the world, they used rivers as exploration corridors and their courses and topographic divides to define territorial claims. Many of these still persist as the borders of national and subnational political jurisdictions today. We dotted the world's riverbanks with settlements that became towns and cities and eventually metropolises. Successive generations depended on rivers without giving them much thought. They were just there, a pleasant landscape feature with some essential but narrow value, provider of fish, irrigator of hydraulic kingdoms, pathways to explore continents, enabler of industrialization, flusher of poisons, maker of electricity, opener of arid lands, coolant of power plants, inspirer of environmental and technological movements, opportunity for real estate development, soother of stressed urban minds. Viewed from any one generation, the value of rivers is obvious, utilitarian, even banal. Only by taking the long view is their foundational importance to human civilization revealed. This is at the end of the book. It's kind of a little summary. I then sort of condense it into a story. I would, if I were to summarize the whole book into sort of a children's story, and kind of narrate it like that. I don't think I'll trouble you with reading that at this time. But I will say that I learned a great deal by putting this book together. I think anyone who reads it will definitely learn some things that they didn't know before. and hopefully walk away with a very different, or a much deeper appreciation for these natural features, which are all around us, everywhere, and all of them, each and every one of them, has an important story to tell and an important history with the society that has grown up around it. And particularly in these trying times, as we're all trapped inside, you might think a little bit about where you might go to get outdoors and where you can walk. Chances are there is a waterfront park near you that's either open now or will be there for you to visit when the lockdown restrictions are lifted. I'm very excited about the book. I'm delighted to launch it here with you today in this format. And I'm also thrilled by the, I don't know if you can see it, I'll turn it off again. I'm thrilled by these 2 endorsements from 2 of my all-time favorite Pulitzer Prize winning authors, Jared Diamond and Elizabeth Colbert. Thank you both so much for your positive reading of the book and your positive comments. It's very thrilling for me. And the book is dedicated to my first daughter, Selma, who's running around out there somewhere right now. And I guess that means I'll have to write a couple more for the other 2. But thanks for sharing this day with me today. And I hope all of you will get outside soon. Bye-bye.